welcome to Cool Camera Corner. In this brand new series, I take a look at old cameras that I happen to find interesting and cool. Some of them are genuine classics and have rightfully earned their place in history. Others were just ordinary cameras that people once used every day without thinking anything of, but in all cases they can still be used today to take fantastic photographs. So, without further ado, let's have a look at today's camera.
Yeah. You missed a bit.
Miss you in a minute.
Great stuff. Right, hi, welcome to Cool Camera Corner. In this episode we're going to be having a look at twin lens reflexes. I'd like to welcome Ollie back to the show.
Hi guys.
Now, we have been waiting for this episode because I particularly been very excited about this because this is a camera that I'm very fond of. I like twin lens reflex cameras anyway. I think they're really fun. But this one has a couple of tricks up its sleeve which we'll come to in a bit. But this is another one of your babies. Why don't you give us a bit of an introduction to it?
Right, so this is a Yashica 635. I don't actually recall how old it is. I think it's sort of 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
And the good Mr. Widgery here mentioned a couple of tricks on it. Mainly that, it takes 120 film and 6x6 square negatives.
Which is the standard that, the Rollies and they all did. I mean, that was the thing.
Which is great, but you get, 16 exposures on a roll?
Something like that. Yeah, 16 or 12, I think you've got options of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, 16's 4x5.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been a long day.
You don't get many is the short answer. So if you want to go out and shoot a lot, then you have to spend a lot of money on film and then more money on processing it as well.
Which is why they came up with this guy. It's actually, you see just here, there's the 35mm film only. It's actually got a 35mm adapter.
How cool
so
is that?
you can stick standard rolls of 35mm in there. And you get effectively an 80mm portrait camera.
Which is brilliant, because it has to be said for those that don't know about the 120 format, because it's a bigger format. Some convoluted maths means that basically the lens size, you don't get the same as what you would with 35 equivalent, much in the same way that you'd probably be aware with your digital cameras, if you've got an APS-C size digital camera, which has got a smaller sensor in it than the standard 35mm that you'd get with a full frame or a film SLR, then the focal length is different. So that 35mm, which is designed for a crop sensor body, actually works out at a sort of 55 or something like that, because it's the smaller the sensor, the longer the lens effectively gets compared to the 35mm. So in these, where it's designed to be a 120 film, which is a much bigger format, then what would be a 35 on a 35mm camera would be very wide indeed.
Yeah,
I mean, it would
absolutely.
be sort of 18mm or something like that.
Something insane.
Yeah.
It's all to do with angles of view, isn't it?
Mm.
So you get these sort of these cones of what essentially what the lens picks up.
Yeah. And it's how far back that cone goes to
and
fit
how
the size of
wide
the...
it is.
Yeah.
And maths and lenses happen.
Maths and lenses happen, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there'll be... Please leave comments if you know the maths behind it. I'll be interested to know.
Educate us, please.
Educate us. Some maths happen and lenses change focal lengths.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
And I take photos with them. I don't make them.
No, I don't make them, as long as the picture looks nice. And the nice thing, the pictures do look nice out of these, don't they? 'Cause they've got very good lenses.
Absolutely.
Tell us about the Yashica lenses, because these are... They're Japanese glass, which is very well renowned, and it's got the built-in copal shutters. Copal made really good, very quiet leaf shutters in there as well.
Copal MXV.
This is the MXV, okay.
There we go. Might mean something to somebody.
Yeah, heard it here first, kids.
Yeah. So what we have here, it's we actually have two lenses. We've got the Yashikor 80mm 3.5, and they actually made Yashica 635s with two different lenses. There's the Yashikor and the Yashinon.
Okay.
Yashinons they're held in slightly higher regard, but really I've never had a problem with these. They're nice and contrasty, they're sharp. They're a little bit soft around the edges, wide open, but if you're shooting with 35mm, then that's not an issue because you're sort of cropping.
You're cropped in anyway. You're only using the middle bit of the glass, so yeah.
And for the rest of the time, you can actually use that to your advantage with a lot of shots.
Yeah.
It's a really sort of pleasant lens to use.
Right. You get almost a sort of like a focus vignette around the
Almost, yeah. No, that's a very good way of putting it. It's a nice lens to use. The Yashinons were a lot sharper.
Right.
But it's
and
personal preference, really.
Yeah, and they were also 80mm, but they stuck to the 80mm, but you could
80
have
3.5s.
And you could pay a bit more money and get the non.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. How did these compare in price when when they were new to I mean, obviously the Rolly cords were the ones that in the Rolly Flex.
Yeah,
they
Rolly
were the ones
Flexes,
that Rolly Flex was the sort of top end. Rolly cord came in something underneath it, but the Rolly Flex is the one that I guess it was the benchmark that a lot of people set these things by, or certainly did at the time. Was this a comparable price? Were they challenging the same market, or were they trying to go for something that was a little bit more accessible, because they were very expensive, weren't they?
They were expensive cameras, but they weren't anywhere near the price of jamming cameras, and they're still not. That set me back about £100.
Which is a lot cheaper, because you couldn't get a Rolly for that.
You couldn't get a Rolly cord for that.
No.
The collectors have just driven prices of flexes through the roof.
Yeah.
Particularly the Fs and the 2.8s and what have you. But this is a really, really good way to get into TLRs at reasonable money. And the other thing is, again, so you've got this adapter here, and you've got your nice little leather case, and then you've got a 35mm take-up spool.
That's really cute, isn't it?
It's giddy, isn't it?
It's fantastic.
And then a couple of little things to screw on to make that thing fit. And you actually have a sort of a separate film gate and a backplate to sort of replace the backing paper.
Right. Yeah, because with 120 film, you get a sort of backing paper that comes with it, and with 35mm, you have a sort of pressure plate that keeps the film in place.
Film where it should be. Yeah. And it actually fits in quite nicely. I mean, okay, so you're going to be jumping up and down and screaming and shouting for this, because I do actually have a roll in here. The thing is, it's knackered, I don't know what's in it, and I have a sneaking suspicion that somebody actually got hold of this and opened it.
Ah, right.
So
okay.
I'm not particularly happy about that.
No. Words to the wise, don't open your film back if there's film in it.
Do not do that.
It will end in tears, but in this occasion,
on this occasion, we are going to break photographer's law.
Yes.
Yes. Right, and you ready?
Drum roll.
Drum roll, and...
Make the camera shudder. That's probably ill-advised.
That's a slightly enthusiastic.
So we'll lay the drum roll over in post. That's we'll do that.
Yeah.
There's a drum roll playing now.
Yeah.
Marvellous.
So, it does get a little bit of time. And then this guy here pops out.
Smooth as butter.
Smooth as butter with sand mixed in. So, one other thing about these is the size of the negative. It's vast.
It's huge, isn't it?
It's absolutely. Well, the negatives themselves are 6 by 6 centimetres.
There's a square crop picture that you get out of it.
Absolutely, which does actually make a lot of sense if you're shooting with one of these things, because you can't turn them sideways.
No, there's no portrait and landscape. I mean, you can hold it that way up to take the photo, and you can hold it that way up to take the photo, and it'll look the same.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you look in the viewfinder there, you'll actually see. If you have a little look in, you'll see that as you turn it, it goes the wrong way.
Yeah.
But if you hold it sideways, then everything goes upside down.
Yeah, well, we'll have a look in there, and I don't even see that.
Yeah, there we go. So, look, there's me. I'm probably horrendously out of focus. But if I move the camera this way, then I'm going to go the wrong direction in the viewfinder.
Because it's coming up through the mirror, so everything's back to front. And this is this is an interesting one. We'll come on to this in a second. But this was a challenge for sports photographers, wasn't it? If you're sent on assignment to shoot Wimbledon, every time the ball goes one way over the net, you've got to go the other way. So it's like patting your stomach and rubbing your head at the same time. It's very complicated. And some of these,
your stomach's up here now.
Yes. This is why I'm a photographer, not a doctor.
Yeah.
My career choice was the right one, I think, given that bit of explanation. Yeah, exactly. But some of these... no, okay, so that's interesting. I can see there is a little thing. Yeah, right, now.
So you pop that... First of all...
Hold this up to the thing so we can see.
For critical focus, you just sort of pop that, and then you've got a little sort of magnifying glass there, and you can get a really good view of the focus.
You can sort of close up, like you do with digital cameras these days. You can zoom in onto the back of the camera to pick focus points, things like that.
Now, what you can do, if you're shooting sporty things... is put that fella down and look through there.
Yeah.
There you go, you see?
There we go.
And, okay, so you're not going to be getting the focusing, but...
No.
If you sort of stop it down, or you're good at zone focusing...
Yeah, exactly.
Well, then...
Chuck it on F16 and put it somewhere close to the distance that, you want it, and you're golden. I mean, you're not quite going to get either what is... Because the nice thing about that is that's designed to... to show you basically the sort of the same angle as what's there, unless you get very, very close, then you do get
Yeah.
a little bit of parallax correction, but you know, it's not great. But certainly if you're doing portraits or anything else, you're far enough away that that's effectively the same as that. That's not quite the same, but it's close enough, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. If you're shooting Wimbledon and it's way over there, then
Yeah, everything's in. Yeah, exactly.
you're gonna be
And because
absolutely
you've got these enormous negatives,
cropping's
you can crop it down because you've got the data there. It's the equivalent of having a very high number of megapixels on your digital camera because you know there's still a lot of information that you're not going to get on the smaller lens.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. Now the other thing about some of these cameras, and you have to talk me through how it is. You've got a couple of these little sort of controls on here. Now some of these were linked. Some of these TLRs, so that you had what was equivalent to something like a sort of shutter priority mode, where you could sort of lock in an F number from your meter and then dial that into the aperture dial, and then you could link the shutter dial to it, so that you change the two at the same time.
If you change the aperture, if you stop it down, then the
shutter
exposure
speed would slow down
slows
as well, so it would keep the same exposure.
Yeah.
Is there something similar?
No, these are completely unlinked. You've just got these two dials here. Sort of that fella there, that does your shutter speed. You've got a little window up there, which is actually quite convenient.
That's cool.
So
So that's telling you your shutter speed.
Yeah,
On that one.
and when you're looking in the top, you can sort of see that changes there.
That's cool.
And then you've got your aperture on the other side.
Yeah, brilliant.
So it's just nice.
It's nice and
again,
easy.
you just sort of Sunny 16 it, or you carry a handheld meter, and it does the job a treat.
Brilliant. Now we've got another little thing here, which is probably the other end of the scale, I think, to you know, in terms of quality. You know, this is more of your sort of high end. I mean, you'd buy one of these if you were going out on assignment somewhere and you were paid to do it, or you were a very rich enthusiast and you know had money, because these would have been, you know.
It's a decent.
A few weeks' wages, isn't it? This?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an expensive thing. But the nice thing about TLR, I mean, actually these days they're fairly cheap. But if you want to get even cheaper and have a play and don't mind making something yourself, it's possible, isn't it?
For about an hour's work, I got this thing.
Look at that. He made that himself. It's quite good, isn't it? Look at that.
It has
made
an
out
aperture.
of your finest plastic.
It has an aperture. I don't know what it is. It has a shutter. I don't know what the speed is.
Right.
It has a viewfinder, which is a little bit of a fiddle, but look, there you go. You see it. It works in just the same way.
So you can see stuff in there. Let's have a look through there. Oh yes, there we go. And it's, you know, as you know, it's,
heavily
it does
vignetted.
the same thing. It is a bit vignetted, isn't it? Does that come out on the pictures as well?
It doesn't vignette per se. What it does is it produces this really interesting sort of swell. So the centre of the photo, because it's just a meniscus lens.
Right. Okay.
It's a single element, and you just sort of press it in there, and it just goes click, and that's that.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah.
But so that gives you a nice sort of sharp centre, and then around the outside you've got this sort of really weird sort of out of focus circle.
Right.
It's
some
really
arty
quite,
shots and so very much the sort of Lomo boys, you know, who get the diners and the Holgers. Where
Holgers eat your heart out. This thing is brilliant.
I mean, the nice thing about these, I mean, I guess it's the same as what people say about Holgers and diners and other such things is that they buy a load of them because the lenses, there's no sort of accuracy, no two are alike. So the swirly bit that's in the middle of this one might be open in the top left corner in the next one you buy. That's come off the production line at the same time. Or make.
Yeah.
Yes.
It came as a little sort of a flat pack, and I had to sit there for an hour with a screwdriver and sort of assemble this thing.
That's pretty good, isn't it? For an hour's work to get a little, and you know,
it does
for whatever that is, and you know.
Yeah, just stick a roll of 200, 400 in there, and you're fine.
Happy days. So this takes 35mm as opposed to.
It does indeed. And one other thing I really, really enjoy about that, it doesn't actually have a frame counter.
No, right. So you have to sort of memorise that, do you?
Ish. I mean, it does have a little sort of guide, if I may.
Okay, sure.
So what you do, right? That's high tech, that one, and you open the back like that, sort of crunches open, and you've got your sort of little sprocket there for your film, and it's actually linked to this little sort of dial here, and you see there's an arrow on that little wheel, and there's two here and here, and what happens is as you wind on the film, that arrow sort of moves, and then once it goes 8 sprocket holes, it ends up pointing at the other one.
Fantastic.
So you just sort of stand there and you wind it, and you're sort of waiting for it to go to the right one.
So you go to the other one, and then
it just happens.
One side's full, one side's empty.
Yeah. No.
Or,
there's nothing there.
Right. Okay.
You just go round and round and round and round.
Excellent. There we go. Why overcomplicate things?
Exactly. And well, hey, for a tenner you can't really complain.
Wow, £10. I mean, that's it. So if anybody's fearful, and I don't think anybody should really be fearful of putting a wanna towards something like this.
No.
But if there's if that's a bit too rich, then crack on with one of those and get involved with it, because it's really fun actually looking through these things. You get a whole different perspective.
You've got to pull those two little ears out. Right. There we go. Yep, out they come, and you sort of push it. There's an act to it.
Yes.
There we go. And then you've got to turn it upside down, and then everything flops out.
Yes, I mean it's not. It's not a speed operation, is it? But I mean that's brilliant. You look through that and you get the proper gist of it. And there's little lugs on there you can put a strap on. And,
a bit of string.
You need, and it's even got a tripod mount. Everything.
Yeah, it's a bit optimistic, but there we go.
Yeah, and the other thing is on the side. There's not one on the bottom. It has to be said. You can only put it that way around. And this doesn't shoot square format because it's 35mm. So this will be
standard 36 or 24.
So you can have portraits in with a tripod.
Yeah.
But I suspect it probably doesn't make that much difference.
You have landscapes on the tripod.
Oh, you're right. Landscapes on the tripod, portrait, handheld.
Yeah, and it's quite strange because the film actually goes from bottom to top,
right,
as opposed to side to side. I mean, there are some weird little ones tucked away somewhere that have they sort of slightly wide and they sort of go across.
Okay.
But that thing is bottom to top, so it just does portrait.
How cool is that? I think that's very, very funky.
And best thing,
yeah,
Reseski is what it's called.
Reseski, there we go. So we'll throw a link up to that.
TLR.
Yes, it is. Brilliant stuff. We'll throw a link to that up on the screen, and people can go and have a look at that, because I think I'm going to get one of these myself and have a play with it.
They are good fun.
Brilliant stuff. Right, well, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining me, Ollie. It's been brilliant, and we shall hopefully see you again on an episode soon.
Yes.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe, jab at that button that's on the screen now, and watch all of the other videos that are on here. Also, don't forget that I'm now available on F-Stop Lounge, so head over to the F-Stop Lounge site, because there's some amazing videos on there from all kinds of really cool photographers. And check out what they do. There's some competitions where you can win prizes, some of which involve money. What more could you want?
Not a lot.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks very much for watching.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching. There you go.
Yeah.
See you again soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.